All right, welcome to Tennis Channel Inside In. Now joining us via Zoom, of course, it's Daniela Hantuchova, second time on the show, so now she's an official reoccurring guest. You know her as a tennis commentator, 7 titles, a top 5 ranking, working for Amazon Prime, the Real DNA podcast, known as Downtown Danny Online. I'm getting out of breath listing all of her stuff, but Daniela Hantuchova, thanks for joining the show.
Yeah, it's great to be back.
Hey, before we get to the tennis, I do have to ask you something. We spoke last year in the summertime. There was a lot of tennis going on, but you said something in that show about one of your hobbies. And then looking at what was going on in September, you actually golfed in the BMW PGA Pro-Am in London. I mean, we had Padraig Harrington, former major champion, Spider-Man, Tom Holland was there. How was that experience? How'd you do? And how much do you just love golfing?
Oh my, it's a big passion of mine. And yeah, that's right. It was such a cool experience. And I have to say, I was crazy nervous the morning of that Pro-Am, and, just having that big crowd. I think it was, a couple thousands of people. I don't know, last time I had that. So I'm so not used to it anymore. So on my first tee shot, yeah, it was quite something. It kind of reminded me how I felt before the matches. So it was nice to have that feeling. And I never thought I would get it back, even though it was a different sport. It felt nice to have those butterflies in my stomach. So no, it was cool. And as ever since I picked up golf, especially the last, I would say, year or so, it has become, quite something that if I could, I would probably play almost every day.
Wow. So that's interesting too. And it's fun. It's funny to hear that the athlete in you kicked in, like you started to get competitive and you started to really get after it.
Even like the night before, I got my dress ready and I was thinking what I'm going to have for breakfast. And I'm like, oh, Danny, stop it. Like, you're not a professional anymore. It was so funny.
Oh, that's great. Do you consider yourself now more like, I guess, more of a golfer? Like, you accomplished so much in your tennis career, but do you at this point in your life, you're like, I'm more of a golfer now?
Oh, 100%. I mean, like the ratio between how much I play golf and how much I play tennis, it doesn't even come close. So it just feels like, the whole tennis career, it feels like miles away. And I guess, I feel so blessed that I found so much joy in other sport. I never saw this coming. So it's really cool to have that in life.
For sure. We got to set up that challenge with you and Ashleigh Barty though, because I know
yes. I hopefully soon. It's I've been practicing from day one of this new year, so I'm up for it for sure.
That's the showdown we need. Transitioning now to tennis, Aussie Open 2022 underway. Already no shortage of drama. It definitely feels good to be finally focusing on the matches and the tennis. And the atmosphere itself, though a little tempered with some crowd limitations, you start to get the sense that in Australia, it is a little different. The atmosphere can be a little rowdy. And the other thing to note too, Danny, that we're seeing is that the atmosphere itself, the wind, the conditions, plays an impact to a lot of these matches. And, it's going to be tough for some of these tennis players to overcome the elements in addition to the crowd and the player that they're facing.
Yeah, I always thought, having to face so many different conditions, it's probably one of the most challenging tournaments we have, because you can go from super crazy hot to windy, cold, and it seems like sometimes you have 4 seasons in one. So it's something that maybe we don't talk about enough, how that can affect the matchups and all of that, plus the crowd. It's been huge, not having it to the full capacity. But having gone through everything the players had to the last 2 years, I think even if there are 2 people sitting in the crowd, they take that, because it just makes all the difference in the world. And I think what these times has taught us how much it's a cliche, but how much the fans make the sport. Without them, we wouldn't be talking, players wouldn't be playing. So it's really about the fans making the sport.
Yeah, they make the sport. They make tournaments, and they definitely make this tournament like more than just about anything.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of different players to get your thoughts on early startings. There were some great matches out of the get-go. I want to start with the match from a couple days ago. Full disclosure, we're recording this on a Wednesday. It'll be up on Thursday, but The round one win for Emma Raducanu over Sloane Stephens. There was a lot of hype in that. Two of our recent US Open champions. Emma, who had won the major championship, came seemingly out of nowhere, an unbelievable start, went through the ups and downs, got a bit of a losing streak. But for her to get that win over a very dangerous Sloane Stephens player, how important do you think that's going to be for her to maybe right the ship and get some of that confidence back beating such a good player?
Yeah, I thought that was huge for Emma, especially that first set, how she, got off to playing such incredible tennis after a disappointing loss the week before. It just shows mentally how strong she is. And I love her approach. She's not putting too much pressure on her shoulders, even though everyone from the outside does that. It's important that she keeps having the same perspective that she has, that, this is going to be her first full year on tour, and that even though she's a US Open champion, we still have to remember, she's played so very few tournaments. So I thought mentally she's already showing how tough she is. And playing against Sloane, you just never know what you're going to get when Sloane is on. You're facing one of the best players we have. So she did really well after that second set to bounce back and kind of go back to what she's done great in the first set, changing up the rhythm, throwing in some higher balls. I thought that was very smart. And, she just showed such a maturity. And I think that's what with her, we keep forgetting how short she's been on the tour and what she's able to achieve already.
Yeah, she got beat very badly by Raducanu last week. Then immediately it was like, I'm fine. I'm going to, work on my game. And just as a former pro, how tough is that to, you take it on the chin early in a tournament to just go back out right to the practice court, whether same day or the next day? It's got to be difficult to just dive back in, regardless of how good or how much you've accomplished.
Yeah, that's where I was very impressed when I saw her right after the match back on the practice court doing some drills with, she's got one of the greatest coaches we have, Torben, and he's showing her that only with the hard work she can get that confidence within herself. But yes, it's never easy, especially when you have a loss for going to say in front of the media, I'm gonna keep on improving, but mentally to get that out of your system, it takes a few days. And when you have a Grand Slam right behind the corner, that's where I'm sure the coach and everyone on the team must have done a lot of mental work to kind of, forget that and basically start the season from Melbourne.
What do you think her season's going to be like this year? I think, it's so fascinating because she might take a step down. She needs to gain this experience. We could be years away from seeing anything close to what peak the best version of Emma Raducanu is. What do you think 2022 has in store for her?
Yeah, that's a tough one. When I saw her in US Open, I thought, okay, we've got a proper star here. But then, understanding how big of a deal that was in the UK and what she had to face from the media side and the pressure of that, I can't even imagine how much she has to handle, outside of the court. So it's so important, the people that she surrounds herself with, that she takes advice from people that genuinely care for her and understand what she's going through. As far as her ability, she's an incredible athlete. She's got that fighting spirit like not too many women tennis players I've seen. Technically, she's the full package already. So with Emma, I think it can be either incredible year already, and I wouldn't be surprised if she wins another slam, but it can be also a year where, she's not gonna have too many great results. So it's, like we've seen with the women's tour the last couple of years, it's just so hard to predict anything.
Yeah. Well, that's a great segue for it. I mean, we're looking at an Australian Open where, again, take your pick of the litter. There's a lot of contenders. It wouldn't surprise many to see 20, 30 so names on your list. Do you enjoy the fact that it's so wide open? Would you like to maybe see some concentration at the top? We might get that this year with the Bartys and the Osakas and whatnot, but what do you think about the current state of how just wide open it is?
I do appreciate the fact that the field is so open and the overall strength of women's tennis is incredible. I mean, pretty much anyone from top 200 can win any event.
Yeah.
But I think it would be cool to have maybe, 2-3 amazing players on top of the game that, they're going to make the semis at least the semis every single tournament. Then, we have the consistency, we have the rivalry, and we can just, always talk about those 2-3 big names.
Yeah, and we might see that, as I mentioned, Ashleigh Barty comes into this the favorite, has a couple Grand Slams to her name, is trying to break the streak of being the first Australian woman in about 40 years or so to win the home slam. We talked about her a lot last time. You mentioned just, how genuine, how normal she is. She's looked great. I mean, there's nothing else she can do in the first 2 rounds, but do you think she'll be able to handle the pressure as it goes on and on of winning this one in front of the home faithful, that they're just so thirsty, they're salivating for someone from their home country to win?
Yeah, I do hope so for her very, very much, because like you said, she's such a wonderful, I can't say girl anymore. I'm still used to thinking of Ash as the 11-year-old that I saw first time in Brisbane. She's such a lovely woman, and she's done so much for Australian tennis. And I think the nerves and the pressure she's not going to feel in the first week. It's more in the quarter, semis, eventually when she gets to the finals, where obviously that pressure of the entire nation will be on her shoulders. That's where, Emma had that advantage that she was just flying through, because, it was not her slam, playing in front of the UK crowd. So that can be exhausting, not only mentally, but physically, carrying that pressure. It might take a lot out of her system. So I think with Ash will be about how well she can recover and get through the tournament physically, not getting tired, because it's going to get very emotional the farther she gets into the tournament. But, she's won slams before. She knows what it takes. It's just so different to do it in front of her home crowd.
Camila Giorgi up next, a very dangerous player. And then it's ANISIMOVA or Osaka. So here we go. We're ramping up now. And I do want to mention, Naomi Osaka is a defending champion. We didn't know when we were going to see her again after the US Open. She comes back, she's refreshed, she's hit the reset button, and she looks great. She's hitting it as clean as she hit it here last year. So it's so funny, because regardless of what the atmosphere is like, the ups and downs, I still think that when Naomi's striking the ball like she is, that she's the best player, that her ceiling is the highest of all these women on tour.
Yeah, I agree. When she strikes the ball the way she can, she's the cleanest, I guess the hardest hitting player out there, and it's really hard to stop her. She knows what it takes to win in Melbourne, and like you said, she's refreshed. I'm sure she has so much more appreciation for the game. She's hungry. So to me, she's definitely one of the favorites, if not the biggest one. And she looks great, and she's timing the ball incredibly well. And that's one of the things, at least to me, it always felt like that playing out on Rod Laver. It just gives you such a nice space and rhythm that no matter how bad I was playing the week before, or even on the outside courts, like for some reason I would get to that arena and you just feel the ball so much better. And definitely Naomi has that feeling as well when she steps out there.
Was that 2008 for you? Was that how you felt during 2008, during that run to the semis?
Yeah, for 7.5 in the semis.
Yeah. The first set was great. Couldn't have played any better in the first set against Ivana.
Yeah, exactly. It was almost too good to be true. I felt like I couldn't miss a ball, and then I just got scared and panicked. But yes, but there's been even the years before when I played Serena out there, night session, and even the matches I've lost, I just always felt really good as far as timing, and some of the best matches I think I played over there.
Daniela Hantuchova here on Tennis Channel Inside In, as we continue talking about the 2022 Australian Open, the women's draw heating up. Osaka's next match, speaking about not getting any easier for her, Amanda ANISIMOVA, who handled Belinda Bencic in straight sets. ANISIMOVA ended 2021 on a down note, was lacking confidence, wasn't right health-wise. She's healthy. She won a tournament down there. She's working with Darren Cahill, hasn't lost a match. This is nice to see, because this is remnants of the ANISIMOVA that made the semifinals at Roland Garros, that hits the ball hard. It definitely, I would say, a top 5 ball striker probably on tour. And when she has confidence, she's reminding everyone that she's definitely as dangerous as a lot of these players are.
Yeah, 100%. And first time I saw her hitting the ball, I was like, whoa, okay, we've got something here. And like you said, when she's healthy, when she's in shape, she's a great athlete, moves naturally incredibly well around the court. I think as far as a movement, I see a lot of similarities with actually Simona Halep. And what can I say? You know, whenever Darren decides to go with someone, it means
calculated.
it's going to be good. So, you know, having him in the corner, I had no doubt that she's going to do well.
Yeah, it's great to see. I do think this is a tough matchup for her against Naomi. Could be wrong, obviously, but it seems like it's strength for strength. And, you know, Naomi is the way she is. I mean, I've wanted Naomi versus Barty for the last 2 years stylistically. So maybe we get that. But I mean, Georgie and ANISIMOVA are going to have something to say about it.
Yeah, but like you said, I just feel like Naomi strikes the ball a little bit harder for now than ANISIMOVA, and has that experience of there's nothing like, you know, coming back to a place that you won the previous year, and definitely Naomi has that momentum going for her. So you know, if we are talking say 3-4 months from now, and if she keeps continue to work with Darren, it's going to be a different story. On clay, I would put my money on ANISIMOVA right away, but because it's Australian Open, I still go with Naomi.
Another interesting thing about this tournament is that, you know, we talked about the parity in the women's game and how many women can win it. There really hasn't been that many upsets in the first couple rounds. Now we might start seeing some moving and some shaking, but really haven't been any upsets big early. Kenin goes down to Keys, but the way Keys was playing, that's really not an upset to even consider. But are you surprised that, you know, there's just been a lot of handling of business from the top 30 or 40 or so?
You know, I don't expect anything anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And the prediction. So also, you know, when you have a proper way to prepare in your preseason, I think that's where it's going to favor the top players and the favorites, because, you know, they just maybe do the things a little bit better than the rest in the preseason. And, you know, we haven't seen really that in the last 2 years because of the restrictions. So I think that's why we've seen so many more clean results compared to last year, and, you know, the quarantining and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you also have a chance to really, you know, spend some time down in Australia, work on parts of your game and make the necessary adjustments. ARYNA Sabalenka, somebody wanted to talk about. She came into this tournament with little to no confidence, I think it's fair to say, on her serve. It was trending that way in the first match against Storm Sanders, but she righted the ship. She survived. These gifts, for lack of a better term, that she's having on her serve, it's hard to watch at times. We hope she corrects it, but just take me through the mind of a tennis player. Have you ever, whether it's serve or a specific stroke, have you ever struggled with something where it's that mental block? And if so, what have you done to try to overcome it?
Luckily not to this degree. I did struggle when I was injured and coming back, even though, say, I had a stress fracture in my foot. And even though it was healthy, I was so afraid to, you know, make the move to one side or the other. So you get really restricted, and then mentally it's just so hard. So having this kind of things in your game that you have to deal with, I can't even imagine how hard it is. We see it in golf as well, when suddenly, you know, out of nowhere you can't putt anymore. And with tennis, I would say the thing where it gets always tricky is the serve, and it just takes so much time to get rid of those habits, and it can get really frustrating. Obviously it affects the rest of your game. You stop believing in yourself, and you could just completely fall apart as a player. So you always feel so sorry when that happens, because it's almost like unfair. You do all the training the same way, and yes, sometimes these things happen out of nowhere, and it's so important just to remain patient and hope that somehow you know, the player is going to figure out how to do it.
Yeah, she said she received a text from Mark Philippoussis offering some support and advice. That's somebody with the serve that knows how to kind of give advice there. Yeah, I think we'd all be lucky enough to do that. Well, I want to open the floor to you. I mean, there's so many players that are starting to play well, make moves. Who else has caught your eye that we haven't talked about so far in this tournament? Is there any other player in the women's draw that you're looking at and saying, well, keep an eye on her? There's some good signs there.
No, I think we've covered it all. I like I said, I consider Naomi the biggest favorite, Ash as well, and ANISIMOVA.
Dosa, I mean, she's kind of on the rise too. She's got
of course, yeah. I mean, I absolutely love her game. She's got so much variety, incredible fighter. Never write off Muguruza in Australia. You know, she's been very close in the past. She loves the higher bounds and the conditions. So yeah, that's a good point. Badosa and Muguruza.
Yeah, Badosa has Marta Kostyuk next. That could be a fun match. There's a lot of ups and downs in Marta's game, and I'm glad to see Iga Swiatek back playing well. I mean, she's a top 10 player. There could be some stuff there. Also, kind of a throwback too to a player you played against. I mean, Victoria Azarenka wins 2 easier matchups. She's into the 3rd round, and someone that's won this tournament twice is never lacking confidence. We know no matter what, she's going to be a confident player out there.
Yeah, that's true with Vika. You know, she has managed to keep the confidence levels always high up, which you gotta admire for such a long time. And what a great you know, role model for the younger players, and how much she still loves the game. And it's incredible to still see her around. And like you said, she knows what it takes to go all the way. I think the question at her age is a little bit, you know, 7 matches, how she will be able to recover. So, I mean,
Yeah, that's a
you can
good
never
point.
write her off, but physically, I think it's a lot for her to ask now to go all the way in a slam.
It's a good point. She's going to need to keep the score lines low. So she's done that so far. Not a lot of
Yes.
long matches. It's also weird to say that Simona Halep is like under the radar. She's is a 14 seed. No one's really talking about her. She seems healthy. Don't want to count her out because this is someone with a lot of second weekend slam experiences.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to write off Simona. She knows exactly how to be competitive, and she loves the drama. If possible, she's gonna make every single match last 3 hours and more in Melbourne. For some reason, she enjoys torturing herself out there.
Yeah.
But what a fun player to watch. And I think she also enjoys that, not being in the spotlight, not feeling that pressure. And she's in such a great point in her career where she can, you know, she's done so much, so she can really just go out
Yeah.
there and enjoy herself. And yeah, there's no reason why she can't think of, you know, winning pretty much any tournament she enters.
Also have to bring up to Maria Sakkari, the 5 seed, is into the 3rd round, and had the highlight moment maybe of the crowd interaction of the tournament where they were chanting the Eurovision song at her last night that the Greek girl won in 2005. So tons of Greek people, tons of Greek fans in Australia. She's got a lot of power. She's probably in the best shape of any, you know, female tennis player right now. So we'll see. This could be her breakthrough as well.
You know what? She's such a great motivation for me, because every time I go to the gym and I'm tired or whatever, then I just think of what she would do in the gym. I'm like, okay, I better keep
Yeah,
going and keep
good.
pushing myself. So, you know, she's done, I think, so well for people following tennis to want to get out from the sofa and get to the gym. And she's a great role model in that way. And yeah, I was always jealous for the Greek players, Swedish players, because it almost felt like playing a Fed Cup in Melbourne, because the crowd is just like crazy how much they get behind them in Melbourne. And yeah, with Maria, you know, physically there's no question she's the strongest girl out there. I think with her it's more about the belief, and she's been so close last year, and I think slowly she's getting there. Obviously, that Roland Garros semis, it just shows that she has the level, and I do hope it happens for her. But whether it's going to be Melbourne, it's tough, tough to say.
Couple more things with Daniela Hantuchova before we wrap this up here on Tennis Channel Inside In. I want to also give a shout out to another player from your era that is about to call it a career. Sam Stosur, still alive, won her first match. It was a battle. She pays Pavlyuchenkova later today. Just your thoughts on, you know, Sam Stosur's career, another Australian that kind of carried the flag for her generation, wrapping it up and then calling it a career at home this year.
Yeah, no, it's incredible what Sam has done for not only Australian tennis and women's tennis in general. It was an honor to play against her, with her in doubles. And I think I remember first time playing against Sam was actually in Melbourne, but I don't even want to mention the year because that's gonna make me feel really, really, really old. I think it was her first slam actually, and it was either first or second round. And the year was well, I hope it was 2000 something. Let's start there. But yeah, it just shows, you know, how long she's been around for, and what an incredible career, both in singles and doubles. And yeah, she she's going to be missed big time. And I just want to congratulate her on everything she's achieved. And more than anything, importantly, you know, she's such a humbled person and really cool.
Yeah, we don't have to go over the head to head either, but you know,
no, thank you.
but you only met one time in a Grand Slam. It was that year in Melbourne, and you got that one. So no, it's been great. She's a U.S. Open champion. She's somebody that, you know, put the time in and was one of the first people in this new 21st century of fitness and, you know, getting in shape. And you know, she was a very good player. It's tough to see her go. Well, Danny, last thing before I let you go on the men's side, do you have any like players you're looking at as favorites to make a run? Who do you think? No Djokovic, Nadal's still there. He's the 6th seed. Federer is not here. We're missing some faces. How do you see the men's draw shaking out?
Oh, I just would love for Rafa to go as deep as possible, and Andy. I mean, his story is just crazy, you know. When you think of couple months, what is it, couple years ago, when he was trying to come back, and everyone thought, you know, this is crazy, and he's never be able to do that, and then you know, seeing him do what he's doing is just breathtaking. And it was actually funny because I talked to him on my podcast when he was doing the recovery, and he was just starting to train and come back after the surgery. And he says, you know, Danny, one of the reasons why I'm doing this is because I did those, you know, like body fat measurements, and I was not happy with what I saw. So it's, you know, it's crazy to think that's one of the reasons why you are able to put all that hard work in, because you're not happy with your body fat results. But yes, so it's been an incredible story, obviously, for Andy, and let's hope he goes on for as long as possible. And yeah, the other obvious ones are, of course, Daniel, Sasha, Stefanos. Really hard to pick.
Yeah, that next generation is going to be tough. And how's that make the rest of us feel if Murray's not happy with what he sees? That's not good. No, I agree. I think seeing Murray and Rafa throw it back, the veterans, which is crazy to say, the veterans on tour, but this could be that seminal moment where Medvedev or Zverev win. They're the #1 player in the world. It could be Medvedev going back to back on the hard, that Naomi double, that Naomi Osaka double, or we could see Zverev get his first. Zverev, if he wins, this is all that he's been missing. He's won Olympic gold, much Masters, you know, him, Stefanos. It's a good time for men's tennis. I think this is a great opportunity, and the crowd support should be thorough throughout.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like once Sasha gets his first, it's going to be like the start of many, you know, because he was missing that one more step, actually one more point. And yeah, like you said, with the Olympic gold medal and everything else he's won last year, this is what he really wants badly. So I think the sooner it happens for him, the more slams he's going to have behind his belt at the end of the day.
Daniela Hantuchova, appreciate you coming on Tennis Channel Inside In. You're welcome back anytime, obviously. Good luck covering tennis, hosting your podcast, all your media stuff, and playing golf. You'll find Daniela on a golf course near you, hopefully. But thank you again for coming on the show.
Well, thanks for having me, and I'll be back, I promise, as long as we keep it more to the golf.
Yeah, we'll do a golf breakdown. We're gonna actually just watch you play around and break down the film.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
You're welcome.